Okay, here it is. Mark your calendars, jot down the notes, get your screenshots ready because easily this chapter has one of the top 5 iconic My Hero Academia moments. Welcome everyone to Class 1A. It's Dylan bringing you another My Hero Academia chapter breakdown. This week we have chapter 344, Stars. We kick off the chapter in a sort of flashback to 342 with Detective Tsukuichi and All Might explaining the plan. Okay, so you know the stress is really getting to him because Detective Tsukuichi is looking a little rough here. To set up All for One, Aoyama's family has to lie to him. To prevent them from detecting lies, Shinso is there to mind control Aoyama's mother to remove any emotion in her voice from the lie. Okay, so before Shinso wasn't able to do this, but in his preparation with Aizawa for the hero course, he's able to push beyond this barrier. Also, his hero costume is just incredibly dope. Then once they have All for One out in the open from Aoyama's deception, they just need to get the heroes close. They already expect him to be using Surge to locate all the heroes, so to get past this, they use Monoma to take Kurogiri's warp ability and warp in the heroes. Okay, now here's where things get spicy. Now, this is the first time that we're really learning that Aizawa can't use his ability really anymore. Now, obviously, this is gonna come into play of he can probably use it a little bit, just stave off someone for a couple seconds, but effectively, he's out of commission now. Monoma seems quite down seeing the task in front of him, because he's always been told his quirk is just a sidekick's quirk. But not to Vlad King, because with this plan, everybody needs to be here. There are no side characters. Not Shinso, not Monoma, not anybody, because they aren't sidekicks. They are stars. I'm absolutely beaming with this speech. This is it. Iconic moment here. And I just love this. It's such a good moment between Vlad King and Monoma. Anyone else could not have had this moment. It really had to be those two right here. And it's just great because it's a coming together of so many people, so many fans out there have the feeling of I love Shinso and I love Monoma and these are great side characters. I love them and they're my favorite side characters. But all of that's done now. No more side characters. Everybody is a main character. Let's go. And we've been talking about this throughout the entire series of whenever a character comes up, people just gravitate towards these characters because Horikoshi is really good at making characters, so good that they feel like main characters. Because that's the secret. They were all designed that way. Then we catch back up where we left off, with heroes and villains pouring into the fight. Dabi makes a leap to fight Endeavor and Todoroki, but just when things are about to pop off, All Might activates Troy. Okay, so we were totally wrong here. So there wasn't a Trojan horse that was going to enter this building and cause dismay to our heroes. No, the building itself, Troy itself, was the Trojan horse. We end the chapter with several domes separating groups of heroes and villains and the start of the Second War. I love how this all just came together. I think we should be patting ourselves on the back though for that perfect Shinso prediction right there of how they got around the lie. And I just want to talk about an interesting dynamic here of All Might versus All for One. Because I think this is really their ultimate showdown. Because before, all of their skirmishes and all their fights have always been All Might in the golden era being the strongest he's ever been versus All for One. And they've been fighting, quirk versus quirk that entire time. But now is where the real fight is. Because All Might has to defeat All for One without any quirks. Just using his own intellect, his brain that he was born with. No quirks here. And I just think it's so poetic because the final time that they battle and the final moments, it wasn't All Might using his quirk to beat him up. It was him using his quirkless abilities. His own natural quirkless self is going to be able to defeat All for One. And the speech between Monoma and Vlad King is just absolutely 10 out of 10, like I said before. This really is going to be an iconic moment. That scene right there, easily a highlight of the entire series. And I just can't wait for it to get animated with voice acting behind it. And that's what makes Horikoshi's worlds feel so alive, is the fact that there is no throwaway characters, that everyone here is important and they're going to have their really important moments. Unless you're Stars or Stripes or, any woman that Horikoshi's ever in. I mean, come on. Alright, and I can't go a chapter without talking about themes. Because we got some good ones here. Now, I always say that My Hero is always centered around this big theme of what does it mean to be a hero. And over the past couple weeks, we're really harping on that theme and around quirks and what does it mean to be a hero with quirks. Because having a quirk or not having a quirk isn't what really makes you a hero here. It's really about how you use it. Because look at Shinso. He was always cast as a villain, cast as a side character, a villain within the world and a side character within our eyes. But here we see him wanting to be a hero, him stepping into that main character role. Monoma, same deal, we cast him as the villain. He's 1B's villain. Whenever it's 1A versus 1B, we always see him as the villain in that scenario. He's always a side character, a comic relief character. But not here. This is a real, serious moment, and he is a main character here. Or even All Might. All Might losing his quirk and feeling useless and feeling like he's just going to be thrown to the side. But no, he is the grand mastermind of this plan to defeat All For One. Because for this world, it's not about like whether you're born with a quirk or without a quirk or how you use it. You know, being a hero isn't having a strong quirk and putting on a cape. It's about saving others and about putting yourself forward without even thinking about it. All circling back to that same first chapter when Deku did the same. And that's like one thing that I think that they probably need to address at some point, of like this main theme of like you don't need quirks, anybody can be a hero, is really centered to the story. But we see Deku, that's not the case. Like the main character here is going against that theme of like, yeah, he got his quirk, and then as soon as he did, it was like kind of solving all his problems. Like he didn't rely on his intellect, he didn't rely on his quirkless abilities. It was more of just, let's focus on the quirk and how to be a hero with that quirk. So I'm really interested to see if Horikoshi's able to, you know, drive this back around and like put Deku at the front of this theme again. Okay, so what do we have to expect next? I think there's a lot going on here. All right, so we obviously have a bunch of the personal battles here that we need to wrap up. So because everyone's separated, we're gonna have a lot of one-on-ones, you know, one-on-one being like a general term because it's gonna be many versus many, but like the Todoroki family obviously is gonna be fighting here. We're gonna have these one-off battles for sure. We also have Toga, who's here with basically a sad man's parade, who you just pull it out at any point. So I mean, expect that's going to be there. That's going to be crazy. Spinner still has his crew of villains that he's roaming the streets with a button that is probably going to be a bomb. I guess that's what that button's going to be for. But regardless, he's roaming the streets, probably going to show up here as like backup, or he's probably going to show up to UA itself, and we're going to have other battles going on there. So a comment that I saw that I think is going to be pretty important to the events coming up is after the exchange between Aizawa and Monoma probably copied Eraser. Because if you think about it, that is like one of the strongest quirks that is used in these really big battles. I mean, that's why it's such a big deal that Aizawa can't use it in this battle. Because the big thing here is, if All For One is on the back foot, he's going to try to warp all the villains out of there and escape. But if you have Monoma with Eraser, you're going to be able to stop that, and the fight can actually finish. But there is like a million things going on. There's just a lot of loose ends to tie up. A lot of stuff going on with Deku. Like we're really focused on a lot of our side characters who are, you know, not side characters, they're main characters now. But we're focused on a lot of those other characters, the non-Deku characters as it is. And we're getting their stories kind of lined up. But I think that there is something that's going to happen with Deku that's going to be pushed to the forefront pretty soon. You know, obviously him fighting Shigaraki, him fighting All For One, and how that's actually going to culminate here. But we will just find out what's next for us in another 7 days when we get the next chapter. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I will see you all next class.